Having said that, I am very open-minded. I consider myself an agnostic in many things. If I can't have 400% proof on something, I leave it open that maybe we don't know yet, right? The more I've studied, the more I've written about these things, the more I realize that even though we have evidence, we're still very early on many things. We don't know everything. We don't even know every ingredient, what they do in a cup of coffee. In a cup of coffee, there is 600 different molecules. Like we talk about caffeine, but there's many other things we have no idea.
Breaking the gray.
Welcome back to the Rebel Scientist podcast. We are so excited to be here today, and I'm here with my co-host, the Rebel Scientist herself, Sarah Turner. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Chantel.
Nice to see you again. And today we have the wonderful Teemu, biohacker futurist and mastermind behind the HoloLife Summit and HoloLife Center. Welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Teemu. I think from your intro, maybe the thing would be to lead with is you're kind of known to be like one of the coolest biohackers, but maybe you can tell us what's with the change of title from biohacking to HoloLife.
Yeah, so we have done Biohacker Summit for over 10 years now, and we wrote the Biohacker's Handbook, the over 550 page, 1,500 reference, like massive manual that came out first in 2016, but we started publishing already the first chapters in 2013. So that's over a decade ago, and we have witnessed this whole industry growing from being fringe and early to what it is today, which is already like there's massive podcast platforms that mention this, and like biohacking has even got in political agenda in my country, like for some parties, like talking about the future of healthcare. So it's an important trend and movement. But I always had a problem with the term biohacking. I think with every movement you need new terminology, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a yogi, you are you're, let's say you're a growth hacker if you're working in a startup, or you're a biohacker working in the health and wellness. So there are these terms that help people to identify with the movement, um, and yeah, that's how these things are created. Now, a lot of people I've met over the years either like it or they dislike it. It's a very dividing term. Some people absolutely hate it. I understand that because it sounds like, if you just think of it like separate from its meaning to us, for a new person never heard anything about it, it sounds dangerous. It sounds invasive. It sounds like it's related to cybercrime or bio weapons or gene manipulation. And it doesn't help that, especially in the early days, it was so connected to transhumanism and it was so
Mm-hmm.
connected to body modification, implants, all of that, which I think most of that stuff has kind of faded away.
Yeah.
And there was also this movement called do it yourself DIU, bio, which was all about creating modified biological organisms in a petri dish, like plants glow in dark. So biohacking is a lot. It's a very loaded term. It has many meanings. If we take the hacker term, that is misunderstood also. Like it sounds like someone is hacking into a system. And the term hacker actually originally didn't mean negative things. Um, you could be a hacker in any field. Um, you can be a computer hacker, but it didn't mean you are breaking into systems. It actually meant that you're an enthusiastic user who wants to know the inner workings of a system. And many people who are in computer science, they call themselves hackers, although they're not hacking into systems. They're white hackers in a way, like they try to
Mm-hmm.
like make systems better, not black hats. If we go further back, the understanding is that this is actually created by media. The original term hacker, you could be anything. Like you could be uh, a gardening hacker or an astronomy hacker or a science hacker, whatever. So it meant any enthusiastic user who was doing it from the passion of doing it. I think it's a great definition in a way. Like many bikers are like that. For health, for them is a passion, not just a job or something they do when they need to, like when their body is like breaking down. That they do it as a lifestyle. So biking is a lifestyle. Now, biohacking also is very loaded by Americans. So um, if you take Dave Asprey, who calls himself the founding father of biohacking, in a way he is the founding father of the marketing of biohacking. He's not the founding father of the term. I have actually tracked it down and I found a reference from 1993, and it was not Dave Asprey. So there has been much earlier mentions, probably even earlier mentions of this term. He took that because he was a computer hacker, and also he was in hanging out in longevity conferences. So that was kind of the early days of this, and he was working for like a tech company. That was like, what Bulletproof was not his main job. So he was working for a tech company. Selling coffee online was his side project,
Mhm.
his passion, right? Over the years, I would say, like early days, back much more science driven. It was very much focused on, and there was a huge relationship with quantified self movement. So quantified self was originated from Silicon Valley, from especially the Wired magazine authors, who and Tim Ferriss, by the way, who has been kind of a very well known human optimization expert and podcaster for a long time. He was definitely like one of those early guys in quantified self. I've never really heard him calling himself a biohacker, but he was definitely someone who was tracking and vigorously trying to optimize his biology. Actually, one of my favorite books is his first books, the 4 Hour Body. It was very
Yeah.
inspirational to me in the early days. There is this origin to this whole thing, but over the years, the tracking aspect kind of faded a little bit on the background. It became a lot about different products and supplements. The science evidence based approach, which was also Dave's approach in the beginning. Every time he was posting something, there was academic references, always academic references. I think he had to remove those because of like whatever FDA crackdowns. To my knowledge, he and his company has been under investigation several times, and many other people in the industry. Like maybe someone remembers Dr. Mercola. Like there's
Yeah.
all these people who tried to push these things, and they were like tracked down at some point for making unauthorized health claims or selling cures, right? So they had to tune their message down a little bit. So then I noticed that over the years, this also attracted, because like any industry, attracts a lot of opportunists who want to make money out of it.
Mm.
A lot of the people who were in other fields of wellness, they entered this space as well. So it was suddenly not just the people who are very data driven, track things, and read scientific papers who try to figure out the most optimal thing that works. But suddenly we have like all kinds of modalities of holistic wellness in this space, especially recently, maybe last 5 years. A lot of this like consciousness driven, almost esoteric material, quantum stuff has also like become part of it. So it's a huge umbrella term that is
Mhm.
absolutely loaded with different definitions. And most people have even lost like track what is it like, but it has become an identity. Just like you can be a blogger, you can be a biohacker.
Yeah.
um, I was in the early days of social media. Like it was not obvious you're a blogger or a social media influencer. Like those were terms that like took time to really like catch up with the movement. So, but there's a lot of good to this, but there's also some taint uh, and kind of distortion that has come out of the very product marketing driven and sometimes dubious, unscientific stuff. Having said that, I am very open minded. I'm very holistic. Like I look at things. I consider myself an agnostic in many things. Like if I can't have for 100% proof on something, I leave it open that maybe we don't know yet, right? So we don't know. The more I've studied, the more I've written about these things, the more I realize that even though we have evidence, we're still very early on many things like genes, epigenetics,
Yeah.
longevity. We don't know everything. And there's so many, we don't even know every ingredient what they do in a cup of coffee. In a cup of coffee, there is 600 different molecules. Like we talk about caffeine, but there's many other things we have no idea.
Yeah.
People take functional mushrooms, chaga mushrooms, lion's mane. They talk about neural growth factors. That's a reductionist approach to what it
Mm-hmm.
has. Like, it has freaking thousands of molecules. Like you have no idea what's in it. Um, and that's of course like on the other side is this like, hey, there is no evidence, there's no studies. But it's very hard to study something complex like the human body or even a single ingredient and isolate like components. And the best approach we have had is the scientific method of like breaking it down into like what is the bioactive ingredient and like studying that specifically, like in curcumin, maybe it's like the curcuminoid. That's kind of like one way to look at it, and that's how biohackers would approach, and that's how any sane person who reads science would approach it. Is like try to figure out what is the most essential things that are in it. But the more you are in this field, the more you understand, let's say you take autoimmune diseases or you take complex health issues or what is optimal health or what makes you live longer. There is no single silver bullet. There is no one fits all approach. And so often it's compounding effect. So you do a few things, not one does it, but it's the combination of lifestyle, right? So you need to
Mm-hmm.
sleep in, you need to exercise, you need to eat healthy food, you need to have supplements, you need to have microbiome. Like there's so many things. Like you can do one of them and someone might reduce it, that sleep is the most important or exercise the most important or microbiome is the most important. But the more I'm on this field, the less I listen to those kind of reductionist, simplistic, almost fundamentalist approaches. But this is what this industry is full of. Like you have someone who is like ketogenic diet or carnivore diet. Like it's all reducing human health into single variables all the way to someone trying to make a perfect diet like Ryan Jones. Like, but there's like
Mm-hmm.
some kind that makes you live longer and everyone should be on it. I can tell that's not a new idea. That happened already 10 years ago. It was called Soylent. And that product ended up in hospitals. And I think the company flopped and maybe went out of bankrupt, made bankrupt. I don't know. Maybe it still exists. But it's this industry is full of different trends. Okay, so this is my intro. Why do I change the vocabulary? Why do I want a new term? Is because of all of this. Um, and at the same time, I do believe still in terms like you need new words to describe new things for giving people new perspectives. And that we have been with many people, and there's many other biohackers I've spoken with privately, like trying to come up with a new term. Everyone wants that. Like we need something new. And so me and Sean Wells, who I work with, we came up with this term. So I can give credit to him. It's not my term only. Like he contributed greatly to thinking of this. Actually, the HoloLife came from me, and together uh, we were looking for words that would be better, and we really liked the term holo because it is technical, like hologram, holographic, right? It is holistic in the very core of optimal holistic wellness. Um, it is also the etymology is kind of like it sounds like your whole being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it makes you complete, um, and there's many other terms or associations that I can talk about, but then the thing is also about having a positive first impression. Biohacking is not a positive first impression if you've never heard the term. Holo life, on the other hand, is
Yep.
life, holistic life, life. This is what it's all about, lifestyle, right? So it's whole lifestyle also in a way. So it's more than a lifestyle, right? You can have a lifestyle, and then you can have a whole lifestyle, and you can have a whole life. So I like the linguistic associations much more than biohacking. Um, Even people, they can't even write biohacking correctly. It's often like the space bar or like whatever, like try different languages. Good luck with that. Um, so we have been thinking about this term since 2022. So we have had this term for now 3 years on the table. And honestly, we were just waiting for the right moment. And yeah, I think the time is now. 2024 was our 10th anniversary. We did the first Biohacker Summit 2014 and 2024. So 10 years of biohacking done. Um, and HoloLife includes biohacking also as one aspect of looking at it, but it's not the only one. The other thing that kind of we started doing a few years ago was that we realized there is like a division between people who are very science driven, and then there's division between people who are very nature driven.
Yeah.
We have always brought into our events since the beginning, because I'm from Finland, where we have a lot of nature and nature connection and naturalistic lifestyles, and all the functional mushrooms, ice bath, sauna, all of that culture. So I always wanted like to connect nature and science. Like 10 years ago already, we said that Biohacker Summit is like connecting nature and science. Especially in the last few years, like we started bringing also the wisdom keepers who hold the wisdom of the old traditions. There's a lot of like holistic wellness coaches and so on who are maybe even offering you some energy healing or downloads or channelings, who has done it for 1 year or 2 years. I much rather, if I'm working on that kind of energy stuff, rather work with someone who is in a lineage, who has done it like for thousands of years, and whose father did it. So I'm bringing, martial artist like a samurai, or bring someone like a curandero, like a shaman, in our events, or someone who is a herbalist who's just like lives in a forest most of the year. So I'm fascinated to listen to them, because in a way they are scientists as well. In a way, they are discovering the methods and potions that could work, and they have immense knowledge about uh, like the practical. Like some of it is like evidence based from their direct experience, or basically a family tradition or generational cultural tradition, right?
Mhm.
So most of the things in science, even we discover by studying these cultures. The anesthesia we use in hospitals comes from arrow poisons that the indigenous people used in hunting, as a simple example. This whole industry is super excited about psychedelics, which is basically an ancient sacrament used in different traditions in different ways. So, and we talk about omega-3 and like this and that, and plant-based diets, fermentation. These are all traditions, and yoga or meditation. Like hackers have very effectively taken thousands of years old traditions, and now you put an EEG headband on, or you listen to like binaural beats, or have flashing lights, and suddenly you are like discovering the same benefits that has already been known for like a long time in terms of health and wellness. So for us, it was always about like understanding that there is an artificial division between the materialistic reductionist scientific paradigm and the holistic nature oriented, more, I would say, like open minded approach. And actually, this is a new thing, that there's a division between these two. So these people are very much in like there is no evidence, there is no medical evidence. They forget where medicine came from. If we go back to Paracelsus,
Mhm.
the dose makes the poison. He was an alchemist, like everyone else during his time. They were hermetic. They were reading hermetic papers and traditions. They were alchemists. They called themselves alchemists. They were trying to connect the microcosmos and the macrocosmos. They were trying to find the philosopher's stone, which is basically something that gives you immortality. They were trying to also turn lead into gold, like scarce resources into more valuable resources. And they discovered modern medicine in the process and science. So while making those potions and working with elements and materials, this is what they discovered. So the division between this holistic, which is connected to spirit, and this materialistic reductionist, let's find the molecule that gives like immortality. This division is a very recent one. Like just, it's not like tens of thousands of years old tradition at all. Paracelsus himself said it best. He said that, like I will rephrase, like no pill or plaster will heal without the person first having the willingness to heal. So the healing process is not only a physical phenomena, it's also connected to the soul or the spirit. And how we can translate that to a material scientist is that if someone is depressed and adopts the role of a sick person, like you can give them pills and all that, they will keep on coming back until they deal with the root cause. And the root cause is not usually the symptoms they have. So it's not that they got a flu or they have an infection or something like this, or even autoimmune disease or whatever disease they have. But there is something that created the conditions for the illness in the first place. And that's usually very rarely this genetic, very rarely. Like if you look at genes, like it's like ridiculously unlikely that you will have a herited condition. Most of these are epigenetic and a consequence of your connection to the environment and to yourself. So it is an interaction that is rooted in your psychology on your decisions, lifestyle, behaviors, repetitive patterns, addictions, all of that. So if you are someone who is always acting out difficulties, you're more likely to have hypertension,
Oh, for
obviously.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Who is always suppressing emotions and turning inwards, you're more likely to have autoimmune disease, depression, etc. Right? So there's a balance somewhere there in psychology. If you constantly worry about things, you will have stress, and stress causes illness. We know connection to that, like stress hormones. We can give all kinds of reasons to it, but the process of healing is not just that you take a pill, and it's not just that you do like you start on a ketogenic diet. Like you have to go deeper into your soul why you ended up here. And if you look to the health and wellness community, it is full of people who are wounded healers who had like all kinds of health issues and conditions, and we even would consider someone who doesn't have those kind of origin stories. Everyone has it. Dave Asprey has it. Brian Johnson has it. Like all of them have it. They have a story how they were the sick person. And now through this hero's journey of discovering
Yeah.
biohacking or
Yeah.
blueprint, some magic pills, they are now like ultimate prototype of a human. Prometheus, worthy of carrying the fire of humanity, and they are now teaching everyone how you can also be cool like they are. So and of course you need to pay them something for it. So
Yeah.
the thing is that if you don't have that story, then the people who have the same wounds from which you come from, like they was like overweight and all of that, um, and the Brian was overworked investor. So if you don't have those, then there's no resonance in their wounds. Like we seek when we are in pain, we seek people who have gone through the same, who could empathize with us because we have mirror cells. We seek out to the people who have the same kind of story, but they have solved it, right? I
Yeah.
don't believe actually they are healed. I think they are often replacing a coping mechanism that led to this issue. So maybe the coping mechanism was overeating, or it was drinking, or overworking or something. They just replaced that control mechanism with another one, and now it's called biohacking. So biohacking to me, I would say like a coping mechanism to people who are afraid of ending up where they came from, and without realizing that they are just replacing one control mechanism with another one. They are as broken as before, but maybe it's more productive now. So maybe they live longer. Uh, but the whole thing of trying to control their lives to the minute, to the molecule detail, to the biomarker detail, it is rooted in fear. And like this is exactly why they all want to do this longevity stuff. Why they wanna look like young, why they don't want to age, why they don't want to die. Because they're utterly afraid of dying and they have seen the first signs of it in their lives. Like they have come close in some form psychologically. Like, so why I'm saying all of this is that this artificial separation, the allopathic medicine, the materialistic science, which I'm a huge like follower of. I'm a reductionist if someone like my books are full of references and meta studies preferably, and I'm very skeptical of any dubious claims. At the same time, I've understood that like you can't have healing without deeper investigation of your inner world, and this is exactly what the alchemist said, that you have to be able to even to discover the philosopher's stone, to live forever, to be immortal, to even be able to turn something in the material world into gold, which was a metaphor actually. Nowadays, the act of turning scarce, cheap resources into valuable resources is a company running a business, right? So you're trying to create a machine, an infinite like value generating thing. It's nothing different from trying to turn lead or iron into gold. What the alchemist said, that you have to first find that gold in yourself. You have to first heal your soul. You have to first connect to the macrocosmos and understand that everything that is above so is below. This is the idea of the Hermetists. So what I'm effectively doing with HoloLife is I'm connecting to the Hermetic traditions. I'm reconnecting it to the source where medicine came from. I'm reconnecting it to a history because biohacking has no history. It's like it originates in the 90s, right? Like it has like no history. Maybe hacking, it has a little bit of history. Bio, maybe a little bit longer, but like still like it's like most people are like they're void of history when they talk about this stuff. They have like no idea. They talk about yogis that did this and that thousands of years ago, or like Buddhist meditators, or some plant that was used already like generations. But that's about it. Like there is no connection to anything other than consumer mania and like these fear based platforms that if you don't take what I have to offer, you're going to be sick, you're going to fall ill, you're going to die. Take any social media influencer in this space, they are telling you this. Like you need to do this and then you prevent that. I just find it just like super fascinating. So we started talking about these things, Biohacker Summit, through our teams, Hack the Ego, or we have had a team called Connecting Microcosm and Macrocosm. That was
Yeah.
26th Biohacker Summit. We have had Expanding Consciousness, all of that. We kind of grew out of that and in our philosophy and understanding. So we just needed a new term. And this is how language evolves. Like you feel language is limiting you. And I think language is hypnotizing you. Like you literally don't see anything that is outside of the associations. I learned this very, very much when I was working on AI. What artificial intelligence is, it's predicting what the next token is going to be. So if you have associations to something, so you have like somewhere there's an ice bath and breath work and biohacking. It's kind of like nearby each other, right? So those are the associations are very strongly connected to that cluster of thought. And something else is on the complete opposite side. There is maybe some things that you want to connect for trying to reach more wholeness and which are not really that relevant or involved in this. And I really wanted to bring everyone under the same roof. And one thing that I wanted to do is reduce the extremism because biohacking is also like characters, right? Do 100% this and that, 100 like world records in slowing down aging, or like the longest boners at night, or whatever
Oh,
they
for
are.
sure, yeah.
Slowest,
We found out there was a longevity Olympics. I didn't even know that
Yeah.
recently.
yeah. Isn't it funny when Brian Johnson says he has a world record in slowing down aging? What is it? It's in his own Olympics.
Yeah.
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 By the way, he's not even at the record. Like there's more people ahead of him. So
Yeah, that's
uh,
what we found out. He's like number 4 or something.
I like the guy, but I was enthusiastic and as like fundamentalist like he is like 10 years ago when I got super excited about this stuff. I'm not saying I'm now like an old wise man, but I've been around. Like I've been around for a while, so I see love,
For
you know,
sure.
like yeah, it's cool. Like good
Taylor,
luck.
did you?
I
Yeah.
think he's still out. Like but what is his movement? Hashtag don't die.
Yeah, exactly. So just leading on to what you're saying, right? That's coming from such a fear-based thing. That if you hear the words "don't die," that's like,
Don't die. But it's more of a reflection of his soul. What led him to this whole thing was this fear. Like he might spin it that this is like actually what humans and humanity should do. He also used a lot this term, like humanity, species. I like that. Like it's cool. You can't like see your species evolution in isolation of its history or connection to other forms of life. But yeah, like I think like all of these people are defining it differently. Huberman gave us protocols. He didn't invent protocols, but this is what his protocols, science protocols. So like then it's like Huberman is about protocols. So then you have humanity species blueprint. So you see what I mean? These are memes. These
Mm.
are these are symbols that are rooted in language that create certain associations, and this is what we go for. Yeah, I like that. Basically, what I'm saying with and what I'm trying to create with HoloLife Summit and HoloLife is new way of describing, new perspectives,
Mm.
stuff that has existed for a long time. Bring it down from this extremism that you need to have 100% sleep scores. That what I think like what alienates most people from this is when they look at these guys is like they
Mm.
feel like it's interesting. I want to learn from that, but I don't want to be that person. Like that's usually the association people like they don't see it
Yeah.
healthy at all. Like none of these guys are role models in terms of healthiness. In fact,
Or
because
balance.
there's so many people who don't want to do that. They don't want to do 100% perfectly things every day. What is more important is the Pareto's law. You discover that 20% that results in 80% of improvement, or you try to do at least 80% something correct. And by the way, if you do something, it's already better than nothing. So like this is I would say like women in general who don't like biohacking, like they do all this stuff, but I met so many who don't identify themselves as biohackers at all. So and I understand that like it's there's something which doesn't sound like emotionally balanced in that whole equation. Yeah, we guys we are so like focused on like what is my what is my NAD level, that like it's you sometimes forget that life is more than NAD level or
Yeah,
sleep.
but life is more than your NAD. That's a strap line right there. So maybe with that, Taylor, why don't you tell us what you're doing at your summit that's kind of going to enable people to experience this more holistic viewpoint? Because we're going to be exhibiting, we're looking forward to it, but it would be cool to know, okay, what are you actually going to give people for experiential?
Yeah. So our events are unlike many of the other events, more like a festival. It's always been. I think life is a fiesta. It's a festival. So it's good to have like some fun and create like even like magical environments for it. And I think when people come together, it's a good excuse to do like art. And for me, biking has always been like art and science. So I have incorporated through our teams or stage designs or event designs, like some elements to have a conversation about and have an experience so that so many people have come to our past events, and you most likely agree, is that once the event is over, you don't necessarily remember the talks, or like who remembers the talks they heard like half a year ago, but they remember how they felt. So that's kind of has always been to me the key, is that if you feel it was noisy, stressful, a lot of pushing, marketing, selling, like that might feel a little bit like off. But if you felt good, you felt energized, you have more ideas, you made great friends, good connections, and as a company, you made freaking awesome business because you met all these like unique people who
Hmm.
you only there. That is like I feel I succeeded, and that's why I've been doing it for 10 years. That's why I love it so much, although it's super hard work and risky to do events. I mean, we did the only biking event in during the pandemic for like almost 1,000 people. It was super risky, but it's still like worth doing it, and all the sleepless nights and fine tuning that. So with HoloLife Summit, it's the first edition now. We want to like have this conversation about these terms, like what's going on, and what could be like the new definition for whole life. Because I'm not going to define it. I can give some ideas, like I can give the philosophy, I can give the origin where it came from, but I would love for people to describe what is it for them, what is the associations they get from it, and so far I've got really positive feedback. So that's one thing. Also, it's good place just like with like maturity of this industry, because we have been around for 10 years, writing books and all that, and we coming out and saying this is not a good word, like we have the authority to say it in a way. And it's not that biohacking is bad, it's just limiting us now. Like it's just come to its end, like I say on one of the videos.
Mm.
Uh, Not exactly, more like going into mainstream now,
Yeah.
but it is time for new avenues to be opened, new discussions to be had. And I'm fascinated about all these like hermetic traditions and thoughts and ideas and alchemists, because I think like modern longevity biohackers, they are alchemists. They're just trying to discover
Yeah.
like this magic formula that somehow gives immortality, and no one has succeeded. All of them are going to die, by the way, of old age. Hashtag don't die is a lie. Um, like whoever is telling you something else has no evidence, even if they claim they have all the evidence. They have no evidence that they will live even more than 120 years old. Like in this industry, there's been so many people who said, "Yeah, I'm going to live 180." Like, bro, like show me. Like, I come on your 120 birthday. If you're still alive, I'm gonna like I'm gonna offer you a bulletproof coffee or something.
Tickets to your event.
We can maybe increase health span. We can maybe slow down aging, but increasing longevity, ooh, like that's a hard one. Like
I mean, people quote animals that have done it. I went to a longevity event recently, and
Yeah.
people are quoting green sharks or jellyfish or other creatures that have
Marine
got this really
dolphins.
long. Yeah,
live 3-4 times longer, fruit flies 10 times longer. But how? How? By being like as miserable as possible.
yeah, yeah. That goes to show what's your quality of life. Do you want to live a really long, miserable life, or do you want to kind of go
One
out, kind of
the
on
more
a high?
ways to live longer. I wrote the Resilient Being book recently with a sequel, the Biker's Handbook. The in my research, the stuff that makes you live longer is like it's suffering. It's gruesome. It's not fun. You don't eat. You're calorie restricted, right? You have to expose yourself to temperature variations. Like you are either freezing or you're like sweating. You need to like push your body like with to damage it like with exercise and like do all kinds of crazy stuff. um you need to eat a lot of stuff that has like no satisfaction, no flavor, and you can like claim to yourself it's great, and you can't eat much. You're basically in hunger most of the time. uh you need to avoid all the fun in life, like stress,
Mm.
like, but you are stressed all the time. It is super miserable.
Yeah, you have to
um
be in bed by 8 o'clock.
basically it's hashtag you are dying every day. Well, it's not fun.
What
That's what creates resilience and longevity.
Taylor, like maybe it would be super fascinating to know what you're from going through this journey with like all these different words. I don't even want to use a word to ask you what it is like, but your kind of regime or philosophy that you presently live by, you know, like in a daily practice. Do you do sun walks? I feel like you grew up in such an amazing nature thing and well, nature environment, but are there key things that you have now, just even if it's going to transition, that you feel are, you
Right.
know, really resonating with you?
My protocol, you want my blueprint?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to buy it, Teemu. You
What
need to
is it?
tell us
I'm just
so that we
kidding.
can spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Copy
Yeah.
you.
Buy some
And
blueprint products.
you want to learn? Like I got you the 30-day perfect program for you. You can sign up right
Yes.
now.
There we go. Limited special.
Yeah, it's recent discovery. So yes, I do have routines. I do have protocols, stacks, formulas, and blueprints, and like all kinds of tricks. The thing that is different from the early days is that I'm not as rigid with them. I see them more like contextual tools. So depending on what kind of day you have, what kind of period you have in your life, what you're dealing with, all of that is basically what like the learning process. It's like when you learn a new language, or you learn martial arts or something, you go to a master and you basically imitate. You study and you try to do it perfectly. When people try to get fit, when they try to get like lose weight, they start following rigid programs, and it is part of the learning process because you need to take yourself out of your comfort zone and do something differently that your typical pattern is. Einstein said it best. Insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If things are not working for you in terms of health and wellness, you are doing something wrong repeatedly. You need to change something, and change is super difficult. So the easiest way is that you become narrow-minded and rigid. Like you just like focus on one thing, you adapt the belief system, pick your diet, and you start doing it repeatedly, and then it becomes a religion. Once you get like signs of evidence, you are now living longer. So but like wisdom and intelligence comes from that, because you then see at some point it was not the truth. It wasn't the silver bullet, it was not the bulletproof coffee, you know. It like you hit a wall at some point with diminished returns, or things change in your life, or other
Mm,
things become priority. So the intelligence is to be able to adapt, but you have now learned a tool, so you can use that, get yourself out of trouble. Like it's just a learning process. And so daily routines is a learning process. So when you study different daily routines, it would be stupid like get stuck on one routine. Like you have to experiment, but you have to figure out what it is. Um, because what a routine is, it's comfort zone, right? You have learned in within that to feel stability. You have
mm,
something to hold on, but it might not be an answer, and you might be in your illusion, and you might have belief systems that are not true, etc. And the only way you discover it is to go outside of the box you are in and do something differently. So for example, I've been tracking myself for a long time. I've been able to improve my biomarkers, slow my aging, all of it, but I decided to not use a wearable now for quite some time, and I did that for over a year. And recently Aura contacted me and just gave me a ring, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll come back to it now and let's see what happens. But you know what changed? Nothing. Nothing. Actually, I had like less things to worry about, and less like the thing is that I learned from the data the fundamental things that I don't need the data. Now, having taken distance, coming back to it, I look at it with new eyes. So you have to sometimes change these patterns to learn something new. And
mm,
but I have like crazy protocols. Yeah, like I'm doing like stuff. I'm stacking a lot of things. Like everyone else, I do stuff I love. I do red light every day. I do infrared sauna almost every day. I go to Finnish sauna maybe 3 times a week. I do the ice baths. I do I do one meal a day. I do cyclical ketogenic diets. I do supplements. Sometimes a lot of pills, sometimes none. Um, I'm collecting wild herbs. I'm like cooking like crazy stuff. Like I'm throwing chlorella in my salad dressings and chaga mushrooms in my cooking uh, oils, and I'm very uh, detail oriented when it comes to the source and quality of things I put into my body. But at the same time, it's 80%. It's like sometimes 20. So it's like I don't have the inner drive to be the perfect, like 100%,
Mm.
like uh, every day is a perfect thing, because I also learned that's a fragile thing to be in. The way you learn to bounce back is when you push yourself to the limit. And if you don't train for that, you're not resilient. And this is exactly what exercise does. If you do endurance training and exercise, you are practicing basically like really unhealthy stuff to be able to deal with everyday things. An ice bath is a great example. Nothing is as stressful in the day if you do that here and there, because it's a stressor on the body. If you overdo it, I've seen many people, everyone's like, ooh, like they get super excited about everything. If you do a lot of things in your life and then you start to ice baths every day, you might burn out actually. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
not a
that's cool.
stressor nervous system. It can be a tonic for your nervous system in moderation, but
Mm.
it can be absolutely crazy if you do it repeatedly.
Or for
So
women at the wrong time of the
yeah,
cycle. Yeah.
precisely like and I think women are more smarter in this because you have more in tune with what's going on. You have this cycle. For a man, the cycle is in a one day. Like for you, it's a month. So like for us, every day seems like the same. So joking, but like it's I mean, there's even these gender differences that the same stuff that works for men doesn't necessarily work for women. And there's all these studies that were mainly done on men, and like women are
Mm.
discovering, yeah, that doesn't work for me. So, and then there's ethnic differences because of genetics and lifestyle differences. Someone who has been like super overweight all their life and like super stressed, you don't want to start them on an ice bath tour like hard, like straight off the bat. Like you want to like kind of like gently tune into those kind of things. Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Like I would say like I guess it's the term is like more grounded. Like I know that like going absolutely hyperbolic and crazy is like what gets you the attention, and you learn a lot. But it's what if you don't want to be the freaking metabolic Mike anymore, or you don't want to be this like ketogenic Mary?
Mm.
What if you don't like ketogenic diet anymore? Maybe it gave you gut issues. So like how do you change your identity then? Right? So
Yep.
if you have been vegan sushi all your life, like it's pretty hard to like suddenly say that
Yeah.
veganism didn't work for me. So I think it's important to also stay open to transitioning into some other things, that you don't get like tied up with your past.
Mm.
And fortunately, what I see is like some people are just like they just get stuck on whatever worked for them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're talking all our language. I mean, what you're talking about is flexibility, resilience, self-sovereignty, all those things. So, I am super looking forward to the event, because, of course, we always meet like-minded people there. I've got so much to talk to you about, Teemu, because, we've even started doing a few alchemy experiments and looking at things like that, because I genuinely think that's kind of a lost tradition. But maybe we have to save it for Estonia. I've
Yeah,
got some experiments to show you that I think are going to be super cool. But I think we're coming to the end of this, so let's just say, when are the dates for your event, just to remind people?
yeah, it's 14 and 15 of June, and in Estonia. And I would say like the Nordic countries, and I include Estonia is like kind of more Nordic than Baltic, also in spirit. Is that like th- this is the best time of the year anywhere, like to be in
Mm.
mid June, like
Oh yeah,
uh,
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it. Yeah, I've never been to Estonia. You normally have it in Finland, right? So this is a break. Estonia is going to be a new venue for everyone, so that's an even more reason to go.
It has more
Excited to see the after party as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, the craziest after party in Helsinki. That was amazing.
Yeah, like it has a lot of culture, and if you want to go to Finland, like it's just like a 2-hour boat trip, like super easy. Hop on a boat and go there. So it's the nature is beautiful at that time of the year, and it's perfect weather. People pretty much stop working usually around that time here, so
Yeah.
like start enjoying life because it's been a long winter.
Mhm.
So it's a good time to come over. And also Estonia is like super like progressive digital society, digital healthcare system. Like there's like no signatures anywhere. Like you can set up a company remotely. You can when you come, you can set up your business here. If you want to do these health treatments, if you want to be Brian Johnson and do some laser therapy on your face, the same machines are here, tenth of the cost if you did that in London or Singapore or New York. Like your travel costs, like if you go to a clinic, you live in Singapore now, for example, you go to the clinic, you will have more money if you jump on a plane and come here and do it here. Same for whatever you want to do, like hyperbaric chamber. You can do like 30 days a row. It's not going to break the bank either. So that's one thing. If you want to do your lab tests, super cool to do here. So it's kind of like you can do some medical tourism while you're here. So that's all nice.
Noted.
Great.
Yes, we're in.
Teemu,
Yeah,
we've been started doing this rapid fire questions just at the end of our episodes if you're up for it. Basically, I just ask you either or questions. I know we're saying that life's about balance, but just for this one, we'll do ice baths or infrared saunas if you had to choose.
for me, it is infrared sauna,
Okay, tech-driven health or nature-based wellness?
nature.
Best place in the world for biohackers? That's more of an open-ended one,
I,
specifically for you.
yeah,
A HoloLifers, Chantel.
I would,
Hololifers.
nightmare would be any
We're
kind of
talking biohackers, HoloLife.
any other world than Helsinki or Tallinn. Like those are the place where I would love to be doing my biohacks.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was so great. I have so many more questions for you, like Sarah
Me
said.
too.
So we'll have to get you on the podcast again.
Yes,
And
we need to I want to do an alchemy podcast, Taylor,
Yeah.
because like I say, we've been looking at that, but that's to be continued.
yeah,
I'll,
You,
maybe we'll do some experiments in Tallinn. That would be fun.
very cool. All right.
Okay.
great. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining
And
us.
for anyone listening, go follow Teemu, go follow HoloLife Summit, go follow HoloLife Center, and don't miss out. Come to Tallinn this summer.
Keep the light shining on your forehead and your gut and everywhere, like in your mind. Okay.
There we go. Great. Thank you so much.
Breaking the gray.